Okay, don't panic. We're going to get into the top 5 breakout players of 2017, but I have to throw a million honorable mentions at you first. Kemba Walker's efficiency is through the roof, and now he pretty much has no criticisms offensively, so shout out to Kemba. The next one is George Hill, who was always a good manager of the game at the point guard position, but someone told him that he could also score, and now he's up to 20 points a game. Listen, George, I love you, but you can't go from the role player all-stars to almost the real all-stars. But he's doing good. Avery Bradley, who of course walked into the NBA as a defender, and also a really awkward point guard because for some reason they didn't know he was a shooting guard. His offensive game has stepped up, in the sense of he can actually create his own shot now. He's not just going to stand there if the defender's in his face, so that's good. Also, TJ Warren, who was always looked at as an efficient scorer for Phoenix, he got up to about 17 to 20 points a game this year. Unfortunately, he did suffer an injury, but TJ seems like another young, exciting player for the Phoenix Suns, so shout out to him. And now here's Anthony Davis. And this one's going to be a little odd, because AD, he could be the second best player in the NBA right now with how well he's playing. But given that you could have already made an argument that he was top 5, has he really broken out? I don't know. I feel like I'm wasting time spending like a few minutes talking about how Anthony Davis has gotten even better. I don't know. I just don't think I need to talk about it. I think the same thing could be said for Giannis, because the last 2.5 months of last season, he was like a cheat code, and he's doing the same thing this year with how tall he is and his ball handling ability and his playmaking ability for Milwaukee. Also, if you can spell his last name, I don't believe you. So I just don't think I need to mention those. Now, speaking of the Bucks, there is Jabari Parker, who's actually attempting 3-pointers now, which is awesome, and he's getting himself to around 20 points per game. But it's tough, man. The top 5 breakout guys have really elevated themselves, so someone like Jabari, who's doing good, you just ain't gonna make it. Also, when it comes to everything around the rim, scoring, rebounding, protecting the rim, Hassan Whiteside's as good as it gets. Similar to Anthony Davis, same thing could be said about Kawhi Leonard. I mean, if you saw the opening game of the season, or like the second game when he stole the ball from Ben McLemore like 4 times in a row, that's not okay. It's also not okay how I'm talking about his defense, but I'm showing offensive highlights. But same thing, he was already a top 5 player. I don't know if I need to mention that one. Now here are the legit breakout players of 2017, and we're starting with Andrew Wiggins. And I've mentioned Wiggins' post-game 1,000,005 times on this channel, but it still doesn't make no damn sense how he's that effective scoring inside, this young, with also a pretty thin frame. And this early in the season, Wiggins already has 9 games of over 25 points, including a 47-point performance. Now his last 5 have actually been pretty garbage, to the point of like, dude, what the hell happened? But you have to assume he's going to maintain his superhero-ness from the beginning of the season, so he is still going to be here. And Wiggins can really attack in all ways because his ability to, like I said before, post up as well as attack inside, just way too damn good for someone of his age. His ball handling ability was a surprise. And outside of the past 5 games, his field goal percentage for this season is really around like 46, 47%, so he's efficient when it comes to attacking the basket, but he's also made improvements as well. One of which is on the rebounding. He's gotten up to 4 a game, so he's creeping up there. That was one criticism. But the big one is the threes. 39% from outside for Wiggins. At one time, a non-factor from the three-point line. Now Wiggins, besides just giving himself a whole other avenue for scoring, he makes his team so much better now with the spacing he provides. How are you going to defend this dude when he can kill you from inside as well as outside? And barring the last 5 games, Wiggins has been on a tear, and it seems the gap between him and Karl Anthony Towns, it is closing, and he's a beast. Now, I gotta be honest with y'all, the NBA nerd in me believed that 3-pointers were the way to go and that mid-range jumpers were dead. DeMar DeRozan's mid-range game is more entrancing than that one Beyonce and Shakira music video. Which, by the way, if you haven't seen, you might want to see, what am I talking about? The mid-range is stupid. He's automatic. And DeMar has had some ridiculous point totals this season, or some ridiculous scoring consistency, as he is over 30 points per game. And for the majority of his career, he was around 22, 23. So to have a 7-point increase, while also breaking Harelabub on Twitter, that's a hell of an accomplishment from DeMar to mid-range. But it's his scoring inside ability as well. He's just a freight train. Even though he's not as big as LeBron or whatever, he's still very effective at going inside. For one, he is over 4 assists per game at the moment, which, granted, he has been for a few seasons now. But still, when you're so effective at driving inside and being effective from mid-range, having the ability to kick out to someone or dump off to a big man when the defense is paying attention to you, he is also grabbing over 5 rebounds a game, so DeMar's overall effectiveness is huge at the moment. I've said effective like 900 times for the DeMar DeRozan bit, but it's okay. And the real crazy part about DeRozan is with all that, with the playmaking, the rebounding, the mid-range jumpers, perhaps his best quality is how often he gets to the line. He's currently attempting 9.5 free throws a game. So he is putting the other team in foul trouble, he is forcing them to make adjustments, and he's still attacking them from inside. And now, ironically, we're going to show a three-pointer to end his thing because that just makes sense, right? Now, among all the names I'm going to mention here, I think Harrison Barnes is the most surprising. He's putting up 20 points a game on 46% shooting, and Barnes, he did the ultimate. He did the impossible. It's one thing to go from like a role player to a potential star or whatever. I mean, it's been done before. He went from a meme to a legit star for the Mavericks. He was a joke on the Warriors with how many shots he was missing in the NBA Finals. I mean, the Cavaliers were not even defending him. It was 5-on-4 with the bunnies that he was missing. If you go through Twitter during that time period, you can find some funny captions about Harrison Barnes. Well, he turned that around and then some. The Mavericks gave him a whole lot of money, and he's backing it up. His ability to work off the dribble, to beat defenders, to score in the low post, his jab step game, his mid-range game, it's all way better than we ever thought it was going to be. Now, the only concern right now is he is actually shooting under 30% from 3, but he's been a quality outside shooter his whole career, so I imagine that is going to bounce back for him. But it's really insane, you know? I think the Mavericks, they signed Barnes thinking, well, we need someone at small forward, we're going to have to overpay this guy, and he's backing it up. And now, even though the Mavericks might have to go through a youth movement, they do have Barnes ready to kind of lead that charge. Also, it should be noted he's still a quality defensive player. So we have a guy who can play defense, he's an athlete, he can attack inside, beat guys off the dribble. Harrison Barnes is awesome. Now, if you know me, you know that I don't typically like putting like young star players who get drafted high in these type of videos because a lot of the time it's just their natural trajectory as a player. Porzingis has jumped up something fierce this season though. His rebounding and his playmaking is about the same, but his scoring is ridiculous. He has jumped up from 14 points to 21, which is 7 right there, if I can math correctly. The percentages though, 49% from the field, up from 42 last year. And the three-pointers are real. He's shooting 40% from 3. So when we saw Porzingis last season, we saw a guy who had the potential to be a frickin' lab experiment from 3. It's real now, man. He's attempting 5.5 per game, and he's still making nearly half of them. I mean, it's ridiculous. An interesting thing with Porzingis, though, is his ability to get his turnaround jumper off. A lot of the times he'll drive inside and then immediately stop and turn his back to get his defender reeling, and then he'll hoist up a turnaround jumper, which is just a frickin' cheat code, because he's like 7'15", which I know doesn't make sense, it's okay. But also, he's not afraid to attack inside, even though he is a thinner frame. So Porzingis is great. His scoring, his percentages have all leaped up there. Of course, he's really mean, which I know Knicks fans will love. And I assumed he was going to make a second-year jump. I mean, you had to. It's close between him and Melo for best player on this team. Now, these weren't in any particular order, but if there was one guy who I was going to put number 1, it would be Jimmy Butler, which basically just debunked the thing I just said, but don't worry about it, it's fine. Jimmy is unstoppable on offense, to put it bluntly. He always had the ability to attack off the dribble and get inside, and he does have that LeBron James factor of he's really frickin' muscular, and if you want to defend him, good luck, because you're going to fall down and then he's going to dunk on your big man. And to read the numbers for you this season for Jimmy, 26 points per game, 4 assists, 7 rebounds, 49% from the field. And I have to be all cinematic and wait for the footage to catch up to his three-point shot. But he's also shooting over 40% from 3 as well. How the hell are you going to stop this guy? He's doing absolutely everything for the Chicago Bulls, as they have surprised a lot of people, including me. And Jimmy has become probably a top 10 player, probably the second best player in the Eastern Conference. I mean, let me read you his last 5 games. 29 points, 50% from the field, 38% from 3. I haven't even talked about his defense, where he's one of the best defensive players in the NBA still. Jimmy Butler, he came into the league as a role player, an athlete, a defender, and now he's just a friggin' beast. And now let's get to the three-pointers. The one knock on him and the Bulls was, well, they can't shoot. He's over 40%, so he can shoot and then some. He's one of the best three-point shooters in the NBA. I mean, Jimmy Butler is just ridiculous. Attacking inside, playmaking, rebounding. One of the best defenders. The outside shot's huge. And like DeMar DeRozan, he's attempting 9 free throws a game. Jimmy Butler's a joke. I also don't have a cool outro, so thanks for watching.